operation, but on the aspects of how the actions of amending this plan of operation interrelates with Department of Personnel Management, because within the Division of Personnel Management includes workforce solutions. And over here, we have the Office of Self-Reliance. And it's like a duplication of services with almost the same target group. And how do then we consolidate? The other is how are grievances handled from within the division of social services as it proceeds to, let's say, Office of Hearings and Appeals. The other is the aspect of when the nation takes on a 638 contract, how the work session should also focus on how much of a 638 contract do we take on the federal trust responsibility. I would ask of the committee to include those aspects, because that question, this council has never really looked at it, and it's time we did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I think what I'm hearing is we'll request the Division of Human Resources to participate in the work session. Ms. Neswagishi, you just heard, I think that's one of the concerns or items you should flag about workforce solutions and DSR to discuss at the work session, and maybe provide some materials or briefing documents before then. And then we'll need to include the Department of Justice to discuss, I think, the reorganization, the grievance process, and then to walk us through with the Office of Legislative Counsel what is, a federal trust responsibility and what are the PFSAs that are delivered by the nation. So I think that cleared things up to a certain extent for me. Delegate So and Delegate Wanika, are you comfortable with the request to modify?
Yeah, I concur as a second to the motion.
Yes, Chair, that's fine.
Okay. So committee members, right now as the motion stands, we're going to convene on March 7th at 10 a.m. with the Division of Social Services, with the Division of Human Resources, and the Department of Justice, and the Office of Legislative Counsel. We'll go over the items that Delegate So mentioned in addition to the reorganization. Do we have further discussion on this? Going twice? Okay, Mr. Mose, can you do a roll call on the motion to, I guess this is a new business action item. Thank you.
All right, sir. Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona. Honorable Pernell Halona. Honorable Charlene So.
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Honorable Daniel E. So.
I vote green.
Honorable Daniel E. So votes green. Honorable Edison J. Wanika, green. Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Vice Chair, a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mose. Thank you, committee members. We'll move to item 6B. to attend the Utah State Legislative Session for Tribal Leaders Meeting and Native American Day on February 23rd and 24th, 2022. Travel dates will be the 22nd and return on the 25th. Need a motion?
Motion, Winika.
Second, Delegate Daniel, so.
Any discussion, committee members?
Mr. Chair,
Benali?
I do, we have Moroni Benali on the line, who's a lobbyist for the legislative branch with the state of Utah.
Mr. Benali?
Yatesh Nanta, Delegate Slater, although Shinata, members of the committee and all those here. I'm here to take any questions. We are scheduling the Native American Caucus Day will be held on the 23rd, and it will be virtual, but we can still set meetings up with the various branches of government and members of the leadership of the State House and Senate if you approve the travel to come up to Salt Lake next week. There are about 6 key appropriation requests that we are working on right now to push them through the Executive Appropriations Committee that are dealing with roads and schools and the murder missing Indigenous women epidemic, the Gentle Iron Hawk funding, and also the request to expand workforce services through this organization called Fields. And so we're working very diligently to get those appropriations. And so any face-to-face visits would be absolutely welcome and critical, honestly, to making sure that those appropriations get ranked high for funding. And so we can get those meetings set up on the 23rd and also find a way for you to attend the tribal leaders meeting on the 24th if you're not going to be attending virtually. So thank you for letting me give a brief update.
Thank you, Mr. Benali. I think in anticipation of the meetings we'll conduct, could you provide an outline of the bills and help us with talking points in our schedule, et cetera? I think it will really help the committee be as prepared as possible for when we're up there.
Yes, absolutely. We can collect all the talking points and get them ready a few days before your arrival next week, if you're planning on coming, and get the outline of the bills out within the next day to the committee members as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Committee members, do you have any further discussion items on item 6B?
Presiding Chair, Chile.
Yes.
Delegate Daniels. Ado Moroni, good to hear that you're our lobbyist. So, I think one of the items that's really pertinent and has been a priority item for us, the Gentle Iron Hawk grant. I think we're in 3rd year, and I think part of our work has to focus on the renewal of that grant from, I think it was, can't remember the exact title, so staff help me with getting the name of that grant, where we really need to make sure that Gentle's Iron Hawk facility continues to operate with Utah funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair So. Mr. Bernali, did you catch that?
Oh, yes, yeah, thank you, Ado Shinat, Delegate. So one of the appropriations bill for the Gentle Iron Hawk is a $4.2 million perpetual grant program sponsored by Representative Ray Ward. And that has been gone through several committee hearings already, and we presented on it. And it has so far, I think it's ranked fairly high, and it was a key priority for one of the chairs of the Social Services Appropriations Committee. And so we're moving forward with that. That's a $115,000 grant to Gentle Iron Hawk. In addition to that, there's another statewide domestic violence grant program that we'll be going through, and Gentle Iron Hawk is included in that as well. And lastly, we had a meeting with the LDS Church, and they are willing to provide in-kind donations such as food and other material needs that the Gentle Iron Hawk needs as well. And so we've been making Gentle Iron Hawk a key priority. And as of right.
You still there, Moroni? Hello? Mr. Benali, if you get back on, you can interject.
Okay, Vice Chair, he is on. It just shows he's not, we just can't hear him, but it does show that his microphone is open.
Yeah, I think there's maybe a delay in the mic or something. I mean, the disconnection. Committee members, we've worked pretty hard to bolster and support Gentle Iron Hawk, and I think this is going to be a great way to continue that advocacy to ensure that they have the funding they need under the auspices of Utah Navajo Health System. And I think a lot of us have been very invested in missing murdered Indigenous women and relatives. So the opportunity to support that at the state level, I think is going to be great. I'm less familiar with the roads and other funding bills, but once I get apprised, I'll be happy to advocate for our Utah Navajo relatives in Salt Lake. Mr. Benali, if you can hear me, if not, we'll just make sure that we get these documents and items taken care of before we head up to Salt Lake. Committee members, any further discussion on 6B? I'm going to call for the question. Mr. Mose, can you do a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Honorable Paul Begay Jr. Green. Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona. Honorable Pernell Halona. Honorable Charlene So.
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Honorable Daniel E. So.
I vote green.
Honorable Daniel E. So votes green. Honorable Edison J. Wanika. Green. Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona. Honorable Pernell Halona. Vice Chair, vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mose. We're going to move on to item 6C, travel to Washington, D.C. for Congressional Department of Education and Department of Interior visits pertaining to the Bureau of Indian Education. Also meeting with the Department of Health and Human Services regarding Indian Health Services. we'll open the floor to discussion.
Presiding Chair, Delegate Daniel. So,
Delegate So, yes.
within the Health and Human Services, veterans related, Medicare related, and of course, funding for the elderly facilities at the Department of Human Services, and most specifically to meet with I think it was Juliana Culture was the one who is most expert about the IHS funding, and to seek guidance. And then from there, we meet with congressional folks on how to get the funding for Findlay Nursing Home, so that the flow-through monies will be accomplished through a 638 contract. With the BIE, it's the discussion A to Z: facilities, safety, construction, renovation. That would be my thoughts. And of course, if we can meet with other folks, really are part of the committee's oversight. That would be my thoughts, Presiding Chair Switzerland. Back to you.
Okay, I think that's good direction to provide to the lobbying team. I saw some correspondence earlier from Mr. Begay to, I think, Ms. Benali, recommending to go out there either the last week of March or the beginning of April. And I don't know if we need to make that determination right now, but committee members, something to consider as we continue to have this conversation this morning. With respect to veterans, you know, Delegate Kealan Begay has passed a few resolutions requesting for direct services, and I think that in anticipation of this meeting, we should hone down what the specific request is. We should also invite Delegate Begay. I think that'd be good. Additionally, we've had requests from the Chinley Nursing Home to enter into a 638 contract with IHS to provision healthcare services for their clients. And the issue we've come up against is that nationally, the IHS does not currently operate long-term care, and they don't have a line item from which to draw for that purpose. At last week's national budget formulation, I offered a motion to get that funded in the 2024 budget. And I think that that's going to happen out of the hospitals and clinics line item. That's what the other representatives seemed comfortable with. And I apologize, I didn't notify the committee earlier about the outcome of the meeting. I've been recovering from COVID, unfortunately. But that is for 2024. Before then, I think we could also petition IHS to allocate funding from either hospital and clinics or another area of the budget. And I think, you know, that's another item that we need to bring up with IHS and HHS. So those are some items that I would like included in the agenda. Committee members, are there other topics that you think we need to document right now that can be referred over for constructing the scheduled meetings?
Chile, Delegate Daniel, so one more time.
Yes, of course.
So, a meeting with the U.S. Department of Education regarding the flow-through monies from U.S. Department of Education to BIE, then to the severe school district regarding what is it? Special ed from the ID. That part is part of the focus. How can we not have delay in funding? And again, possibly that would be one of the items on our trip to Salt Lake. That would be another aspect. How can the state be have collegial support for severe school district?
Okay.
That would be an additional item. Cecilia, back to you.
Okay. Let's get that down, Ms. Benali, the request to meet with education regarding the funding for a severe school district. I also think, we've discussed contracting the BIE administrative functions at the Navajo area level. And I think this could be a good opportunity to have a conversation in DC about that. I'd like to include that on the agenda. Committee members, do you have other input that you'd like to provide at this time? Okay, well, I think we have a solid set of directions to provide to our lobbying team for setting up meetings. And the second question now is, we were advised that the last week of March and the first week of April would be ideal for setting up such meetings. Now, do we want to stick with that, or do we want to go with the first week of March as we originally identified? The floor is open.
Chile, presiding chair, Delegate Daniel Soto.
Yes, Delegate So.
I guess part of our work, we're trying to get funding for the Chinley Nursing Home, long-term elderly care, to nail down funding for the IDEA within the U.S. Department of Ed. And what I'm hearing is there's work on a continuing resolution that would cover 4 months. And for us to be effective, perhaps we ought to go there. The first week is this almost impossible. How about looking at the second week? I think, what is it, the 13th through the 18th, something in that time period, so that our congressional folks have necessary item to include in this continuing resolution. Back to you, presiding chair.
Okay, committee members. So we have a proposal for, I'm going to use the Monday. So the Monday is the 14th. And that would be the 14th through the 18th would be available Monday through Friday. Are folks in agreement? Have alternative ideas?
Abigail, this is Monica. That sounds good. Oh, Viva.
Okay. I'm going to look at that calendar that was forwarded to us. So let's see here. The Senate will be in session then. The 15th, 16th, 17th will be House committee work only. And then let's see here. Oh gosh, I'm looking at February. Okay, March. Both chambers will be in session from Tuesday to Friday, and then on that Monday, the Senate only will be in session. The last week of March, both chambers are in session. The first week, they're both in session. I don't quite understand what the recommendation was to push it back to the end of the month. Okay. Well, I think we should make this recommendation to the lobbying team and then see what we can get accomplished with respect to meetings the week of the 14th. So committee members, the chair will entertain a motion. I'll provide some guidance. It seems like from the lobbying team, they said the administrative or executive branch meetings would be better suited for Monday. So it'd be better to travel in on a Sunday. And then the remaining meetings could take place throughout the week. So I think the travel day would be March 13th, and then we could either return on Friday or return on Saturday. And I'll look for the motioning parties to offer what they think makes sense.
Nobody's motioning it.
So the chair is open to a motion at this time.
Open for a motion.
Motion, oh, good.
So Delegate Begay, are you motioning to travel on the 13th, and when would be the last day of travel?
Let's see, Friday.
Or the returning day?
Friday is the 19th. Saturday is the 19th.
19.
How?
Okay. Did I hear the 19th from you, Delegate Begay?
Vice Chair, Delegate Begay.
Yes, you're recognized, Delegate Begay.
Yes, thank you. Returning on the 19th would be probably the reasonable date. Thank you.
Okay, so travel will be the 13th, return on the 19th, meetings from the 14th to the 18th. Is there a second on the motion?
Second, Alona.
The chair recognizes a second from Delegate Lona. Ms. Benali, were you able to capture the content of the conversation on this item?
Yes, I have a list of, with the Juliana Folster, and I'll get clarification on that with regarding the IHS funding with Chinley Nursing Home. and that would be the primary issue. Otherwise, it'll be with the U.S. Department of Education regarding the flow-through monies with IDEA, special ed funds to Sevier High School, and requesting, also asking them that there be no future delay in the reimbursements as well as the funding. And another meeting with the Department of Interior regarding the Bureau of Indian Affairs administrative functions with Navajo Nation, with the Navajo area office. And that the travel will be, the travel over will be on March 13th, return travel on the 19th, and meetings will be March 12th through the 18th. Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Benali. I think it'd be helpful if you could email that out, and then this week committee members could add or clarify any of the items on there. Committee members, are there any further discussion items on 6C?
Presiding Chair, Cecilia.
Yes, Chair So.
Within the Department of Health and Human Services, critical veterans funding comes out of there also. And I don't, and I guess at that time, let's say Billion says, go see this agency, this department. We have to be open to try to get some critical items where perhaps the congressional delegation could amend the budget. So those types, I guess what I'm saying is the schedule can't be tied hard and fast. There has to be an ability to make stops here and there to accomplish the intended purposes of our trip. Back to you, Shahad, Cecilia.
Okay. Ms. Benali, did you get that?
I'm sorry, I was having a difficulty in Chairman So's audio.
Yeah, Chair So, your connection's not great right now. The last couple of comments hasn't been too hot. So I think, again, we're approving the travel. This doesn't mean that we're confining the items for meetings and agenda at this time. We're just trying to provide some guidance. Let's get some email correspondence going from what Ms. Benali has been able to memorialize from this conversation, and we'll make sure that's all tidy and accurate. And then we'll work with the Speaker's office and the lobbying team to make sure we have appropriate meetings set up. But let's go ahead with that if it's going to continue to be kind of choppy. Committee members, second call for discussion. Okay, Mr. Mose, can you do a roll call to approve the motion from, it was Delegate Wanika and a second from Delegate Helena, and the travel will be the 13th, the return will be the 19th, the meetings will be the 14th to the 18th.
Sure. Right, sir. Honorable Paul Begay Jr.
Delegate Gay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona.
Helona votes green.
Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Charlene So.
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Honorable Daniel E. So. Honorable Daniel E. Honorable Daniel E. So votes green. Honorable Edison J. Wanika, green. Honorable Edson J. Wanika votes green. Vice Chair, vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes, Ms. Benali?
if the, all the members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, if you would let me know if you are definitely going to be traveling to Washington, DC, that way we can secure some, appointments, and we can let the offices in Washington, DC know how many members to expect. Because some of them do not allow in-person visits, but I believe Mr. Carlisle Begay can set up virtual meetings with those offices. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Benali. Committee members, please notify Ms. Benali of your intentions. Okay, we're now at item 6D, and that was to discuss scheduling a meeting with the San Juan School District. So, Ms. Benali, can you, or actually, let me ask, were there any suggested dates or times or any guidance on when they'd be available to meet?
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, and Superintendent Nielsen's email, he did indicate that this past Monday was one of the dates for consideration to meet, but we can, since speaking with him, he just asked that we recommend a couple of dates so that he can make sure at least two of the board members are available. And that can, yeah, it'll probably be a virtual meeting. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, did you say one date in there, or did you just say to recommend two dates?
If you could recommend two dates, that way they can pick in case there's a conflict, and then we can go to the second date that's available, at least for HES members. And then we'll set up the Zoom meeting with the two school board members, as well as the superintendent.
Okay. Delegate Charlene, so this is your area, so I want to defer to your leadership. Do you have thoughts to offer right now on dates that would be good for you? Okay. Perhaps Delegate Stowe's lost connection at this time. So, committee members, tomorrow we have Nabi. I think my Friday is relatively open. Are there any committee members who are particularly motivated to convene with the school district?
Phyllis, presiding chair, delegate Daniel, so.
Yes, Chair So. You're recognized. Chair So, are you speaking?
Yes.
Okay, you're back. We can hear you.
So I would say let's meet with Executive Director of Human Rights Commission and the lawyer that's handling the San Juan County litigation. I think part of that litigation also talks about school district, but to be clear, I think we would need to, I guess, meet with them, and then of course Commissioner Mary Boy get some perspective before we go up to landing. That would
Okay.
be my thought.
So if we're gonna do that, I'm gonna look at our schedule. Today's the 16th. Chair, do you have a recommendation on when you'd like to have that meeting with Commissioner Mary Boy and the Human Rights Commission?
Perhaps we could look at Monday, the 21st.
Okay, just a reminder that is President's Day.
Okay, the 22nd then.
Okay,
And basically what I see is maybe an hour meeting. Just to see, to get guidance, what I'm thinking. And that would include Office of Legislative Counsel and Navajo Nation Department of Justice.
okay. So I think there's a recommendation for just a call or a virtual Zoom meeting. Do you want to say 9 a.m. on Tuesday?
Yes, and let's put it in the aspect of a work session.
Okay, a work session. And then should we then defer action on what will or when we'll meet with the school district until Tuesday, or do you still want to identify some dates to convene with them now?
I would say that would be a good approach. Back to you.
The former or the latter? Should we choose dates now or wait until the 22nd?
Wait until after the work session?
Okay. So Chair, so I'm going to accept your recommendation as a motion on this action item, and the motion will be to conduct a work session at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, the 22nd, with the Human Rights Commission ED and their attorney, as well as Commissioner Mary Boy, to discuss the mask mandates and safety of Diné students in the school district. Is there a second, committee members?
Second, Monica?
Beat me.
Ooh, quick on the draw. Okay. We have a second from Delegate Wanika and a motion from our chair. So committee members, is there further discussion? And just to remind you, we'll oh, sorry.
Could we then include Doty superintendent in that discussion also? That work session. Thank you.
Okay, we'll modify the motion to include the Doty superintendent. And maybe since Mr. Franklin's over at the president's office, we could invite him. I assume he's handling education issues for them, unless we want to keep this a legislative only party.
Attila, Vice Chair Slater, a lot of our initiatives have been legislatively driven, but in the press releases, it's OPVP does the accomplishments. So, yeah, I mean, let's include Mr. Franklin.
Okay. I concur with your analysis. So we'll bring Doty, Commissioner Mary Boy, Human Rights Commission Executive Director, and their attorney, Mr. Franklin, and that's good. Okay. Committee members, any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Mose, can you please proceed to a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Honorable Paul Begay Jr.
Green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Zelona.
One votes green.
Pernell Zelona votes green. Honorable Charlene Stowe.
Green.
Honorable Charlene Stowe votes green. Honorable Daniel E. Stowe. Honorable Daniel E. Stowe. Honorable Edison J. Wanika. Green. Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Lost the chair. Okay. Honorable Daniel E. Stowe. Vice Chair vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mose. Looks like we lost Chair So on the line. Committee members, we're now at the end of our agenda.
Already?
Already. Are there any announcements?
Mr. Chair, can I make an announcement? This is Derek Franklin.
Yes, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, Vice Chair Slater. Just an FYI, the week that you chose to go to DC, Washington, DC, is the same week that NIEA, the National Indian Education Association, is having their Hill Week. So there will be other Native Americans there lobbying with their congressional delegates for the purpose of education issues. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Okay, well, that'll be good for coordinating. Anything else, committee members? Okay, hearing none, the chair is open to a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
A motion from Delegate Begay and a second from Delegate Wanika. Mr. Mose, can you please do a roll call?
Sir. Honorable Paul Begay Jr.
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Zelona. Honorable Pernell
Zelona votes green.
Zelona.
One votes
Honorable
green.
Honorable Pernell Zelona votes green. Honorable Charlene Stowe.
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene Stowe votes green. Honorable Daniel E. Stowe. Honorable Daniel E. Stowe. Honorable Edison J. Wanika. Green. Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Honorable Daniel E. Stowe. Vice Chair vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, adjourned at 11:32 a.m.
Thank you very much. And I guess we'll be convening next week on Wednesday, and we'll be in Nabi tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Oh, actually,
Tuesday.
you know what I just realized? I don't think that we got the, Ms. Benali, are you on the line still?
Yes, I am.
Did we get the request in for the special meeting tomorrow before Nabi?
Oh, no.
Ah, crap. Okay. Committee members, you know, if you're representing Arizona constituents, there's this thing called the aggregate expenditure limit, and it is designed to basically prohibit funding above a certain level. So all of our school districts are going to receive cuts. Yesterday, the Arizona House passed a waiver to the AEL, that aggregate expenditure limit, and then legislation is introduced or referred over on the Senate side. They also need to pass it by at least 2/3, I believe. So I had introduced legislation that I think it was Delegate Monica helped co-sponsor, and it would be a NABI resolution. We needed to convene as a committee because it will go to us first and then go to NABI. I could ask the speaker to waive the requirement that it goes to Hess in order to get it passed tomorrow. Ms. Benali, is there any way that you could put in a request and maybe we could convene at 12 briefly and then we could refer the legislation over to NABI?
I'm sorry,
Basically, this-
I was on mute. Yes, I can put in a request. What legislation number is that? I was looking it up, trying to look it
It's
up.
31-22. But the legislation establishes the nation's position that we want them to waive the aggregate expenditure limit so that it won't adversely impact our state public schools.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
Okay, thank you. And I'll talk to speaker and see if he could waive the Hess committee assignment. Those are at his discretion, and essentially we would just do an amendment at NABI to remove the line that says it goes to Hess. So we'll see what he says. Okay, thank you, committee members, for staying on. It's been a hell of a week trying to stand myself back up again. Have a good one. We'll see you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Take it easy later.